Mark White, I believe, is outside Parliament for us because Extinction Rebellion protesters have superglued themselves around the Speaker's chair in the House of Commons. It would be a terrible day to have a fire drill in there, wouldn't it? The video posted on social media shows that 3 members of the environmental group have been holding hands in front of the chair. 2 others holding banners. Mark's here now. Let's get the latest. Mark White, what's going on?
Well, it was about an hour or so ago, 50 protesters from Extinction Rebellion managed to get some of them at least into the Houses of Parliament. I'm just going to step out of the way so we can give you a look at the protesters there. We'll just go up to them. You can see these protesters are outside the main gate of Parliament. Others just over this way are actually, I think they've chained themselves. Yeah, looks like they've used bicycle locks to padlock themselves to the railings just outside the main gate into Parliament at the moment. And as you were showing there from your still images, there are a moving video that's been released by Extinction Rebellion. Another 5 or so of the protesters have managed to get inside to the Commons chamber, where at least a couple of them have superglued themselves to that Speaker's chair area around the Commons chamber, and that will be an operation now that the police are involved to try and remove them from there. They can't just rip their hands off the Speaker's chair. They need to get solvents and alike to try to dissolve the glue and to get these people off. I'm going to try and speak, if I can, to some of the people here. Excuse me, can you tell me why you've decided to come along here today and to protest like this?
Well, I'm here today to protest. I'm here quite often protesting, trying to wake this government up into doing something positive for the nation instead of just constantly causing division between the people, squandering money. There's so much more they could do. I mean, we're in a crisis that could be solved quite quickly with the pay, for instance. Nationalise our utilities and transport. That way you won't have these shareholders having billions and billions of pounds every year. And we, as you can see, the citizens' assemblies are what we're asking for, so that the people make the decisions.
I get you're very passionate about this, and clearly you see a real threat to the planet. But is this the way to go about it, to actually breach security inside Parliament? I know that the Commons Parliament isn't sitting at the moment, but still, it's a security breach. You're taking lots of police officers out of the normal duties that they would be doing to try to protect people in this capital city from a rise in violent crime. And here they are, dozens of officers looking after you people.
And that is one of my points about what you were just saying. The fact is they have over-policed every single action that we do. We are peaceful protesters. We can police ourselves. We're not going to.
Well, you can if you're disrupting. Well, if you're disrupting Westminster.
No, we disrupt now because this is what we're left with after the legislation Priti Patel has put in place. She's basically taken away our right to protest. So what can you do when you don't have a legitimate right to protest? You find other ways.
Yeah, I should just say to the viewers that obviously the sound quality is not great at the moment because this is working off my earpod and trying to get close into you so we can hear what you're saying. But where have you come from? Tell us your name.
I'm from Cambridge, Donald Bell from Cambridge.
And what do you do normally?
This is what I do normally. Since I've retired.
You're a professional activist.
Full-time activist. Not professional, no one pays me. This comes out of my state pension, which is abysmal, by the way. So, yeah, you know, and with the rising costs, everything else, these things can be dealt with. Put a cap on the price that people pay for their fuel, nationalise the fuel, the infrastructure and the transport. That way you're taking away the profits from the shareholders who actually put nothing back into society. This is why we have inflation. The inflation isn't through wage increases. If people had more money, they'd have money to spend, and that would come back into society.
But what do you say to these people that say you're not living in the real world, though? You've got to realise that with the cost of living and the need for energy security.
It's everybody else who needs to wake up. I'm living in the real world. I face the real world all the time. This is why I'm standing here, because I am in the real world. Everybody else needs to wake up, and they need to wake up right now. And everybody needs to come out and moan. You hear them quietly moaning at home. This is where they need to be.
But they're quietly moaning about you, aren't they?
No, they're not moaning about me.
No, they're loudly moaning about you.
No, they're not even loudly. The public have changed their opinion of us, even though...
Have they really?
Yes, they have, really. We are getting more and more support all the time. So, yes, but this is, again, when you have a right-wing media who don't actually tell the truth, and they simply give their opinions instead of reporting on the news.
We're clearly showing you here today.
Yes, you're here
this
now.
Is live.
Yeah.
You've had your say, so
yeah, exactly.
You know, this
hopefully everybody
constant retort that you're not allowed to.
Park on the
go.
10th. Come and join us. There'll be lots of outreach. There'll be lots of fun, games, music. Come and have your t-shirts printed and come and join us. Let this government know that their days are over.
So there, you see, you get your say live on television. So thank you very much. So, yeah, I mean, we hear this from protesters all the time, but of course the media are not completely and truly representing them. But, you know, it's live on television. He said what he wanted to say. I just want to give you a shot just now, Patrick.
Okay.
Through the railings here, you can see another of the banners that is up on some scaffolding through there. That basically... scaffolding was up around the buildings, and quite how he managed to get up onto the scaffolding, I don't know, and that will be an issue of concern. Patrick.
Yes, Mark, sorry, it's difficult. I know it's difficult for you to hear me where you are. You're doing a cracking job. Would you mind, if it's possible, Mark, would you mind just asking a police officer, I believe there's a couple there, how they managed to get in? Because that's a big question. It's in our inbox at the minute, GBViews at GBNews.uk. How on earth these people managed to go and erect a banner like they did there? I don't know if the police might talk to you. Would you mind just asking one of them for me?
No, I'm not going to do that, Patrick.
Okay.
We never go and speak to an ordinary police officer on duty manning a cordon like this. That's not their job to try and give me that kind of information. They're just here guarding this cordon here. It's not their senior officers that will provide statements. That's a protocol. Gets them in all kinds of trouble if I put them in that invidious position of trying to answer a question for us. So as much as I'd like to get these answers for you, I mean, I can tell you some of what we understand has happened as Tom, my producer, continues to get some shots of the protesters here for you. What we understand is that there are 50 of the Extinction Rebellion activists who are involved in this protest. Some managed to get in as part of the official tour that goes round Parliament. That's open to the public. You know, every day you can be part of that tour. And at some point they broke away from that tour and got into the Commons chamber. You know, I can imagine, I wasn't there, but these things are going to be pretty quick in terms of the, you know, from the moment the protesters sort of decide to run off from the main body of the group to then try and get into the chamber proper. There's also some other protesters that are inside